Hello everyone, and this video is brought to you by my brand new course, Getting Started with Foundation Models Framework. Now, Foundation Models allows you to access Apple's large language model, LLMs, right there on your device. And they have exposed this framework in the form of foundation models. So this is an amazing course, and it introduces you to how you can integrate foundation models in your application. This course includes interacting with Apple Intelligence, streaming responses, guided generations, and even creating tools if you want a third-party access or if you want to access something else like Event Calendar or a JSON API. And then you will also learn about how Foundation Models API will integrate with SwiftUI application. Now, this course is still in progress, and I do plan to update this course next week with a lot more content, but the introductory content is still available, which you can check out. And there is also a deal going on right now that you can use the coupon code, which is early bird, and you will save 40%. But hey, the coupon expires on June 20th. If you also sign up to become a member, then you also get access to this course. But the coupon only applies if you are interested in buying with the full price. So that's it. Check out Getting Started with Foundation Model Framework. This is the only course that is available right now on adamsharp.school. In this video, I'm going to cover guided generation in foundation models, and you're going to learn that how guided generation is literally the heart and soul for this framework. But before we do that, we do need to understand why we need guided generation. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. First, I'm going to go ahead and import playgrounds. You can now use playgrounds right within your any kind of a file, basically, even in your SwiftUI file. So I can go ahead and say playgrounds. And now I can start writing the code as I would write in Playground. And I can see the preview once it's generated on the right-hand side, right there. So what we want to do is we want to use the foundation models to create a recipe, all right, for anything like a pizza recipe, or if it can tell us some sort of a pizza dish. We're going to start with creating a session. And this can be a language model session. Now, language model session is in the framework, which is the foundation models. So let's go ahead and use that. And now we can use session.respond. And then this is a prompt coming from the user. We can say, give me a recipe for pizza. Okay. And this is going to return us some sort of a response. Try await, and we get the response. Now we can go ahead and print out that response. Now this response is going to take a little bit more time because we can see, and I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. You can see that I will have to build it sometimes. Sometimes I have to build it to get it to work correctly. There we go. So it's going to take a little bit of time to create the recipe, and we'll see that what it actually responds back with. All right. And the reason it's going to take a little bit of time is that we are using respond, which means that it is going to create the complete response. And then once the response is done, then it's going to give it to us. Now, depending on how long the recipe is or how many ingredients and how many steps, this can take a while, as you can see. But here it is. Here's the classic homemade pizza recipe. For the dough, 2.5 teaspoons for the sauce, and so on. Now this is pretty detailed. You can see that it's giving up all these instructions as what to do, which is great. But if I want to display this on my screen, well, that's going to be a little bit hard because it's just text. So what can we do in this situation? Well, one idea would be to, if we are giving it instruction like a prompt, give me a recipe for pizza, we can say in JSON format. Okay, let's see what it does, because now in the prompt I'm including that I'm looking for a JSON structure, so it should provide me some sort of a JSON structure, which maybe I can decode it to something else. And then after decoding into our custom models, I can print it, I can display it easily on the screen. Again, you can see that it's taking some time because, well, it's going to create the whole response before it can give it to you. And now you can see the response is a little bit better. But, well, it still contains some text, like all of this stuff. We don't really need that. We also don't need the actual saying that it's a JSON. And if we go at the bottom, we also get this response. So we need to cut that out also. And we need to cut these things out also, all these tildes and all that. So you can see that even though it is returning us JSON response, it's kind of hard to extract this out because we are extracting it out from a string. So this is where guided generation comes into play. What if, just think about it, what if you can get a response, but that response is already populated in your models, in your Swift models that you will design. And that is the heart of guided generation. Let's go ahead and create a model. I'll create a model called recipe. And this will have a name of the recipe. And this can also have a description. But keep in mind that you can add anything you want in the recipe. To make this generable, meaning allowing the foundation models to populate this and to generate a recipe, we are going to go ahead and decorate it with generable macro. Generable macro over here is saying that, well, the recipe will be created by the foundation's model. We can also use the guide macro and specify what this name is. Now, whenever you are specifying the guide with a description, keep the description short. Don't go crazy with paragraphs and paragraphs trying to define what name is or what description is. Try to keep it really concise. Name of the recipe. Okay, that's nice and simple. You don't have to provide guide for every single label or every single property, but right now I'm just trying to show you that you can if you want to. Description of the recipe. Let's start with that. Now, when we have the name of the recipe and the description of the recipe, we're not really indicating that what will be the steps of the recipe, what will be the ingredients of the recipe, which is fine. I mean, we're just starting out. We'll start with the recipe name and the recipe description. Now, let's go ahead and see that how we can use the same exact prompt, which is give me a recipe for pizza, but not in the JSON format, because we're not really going to do that, because it will be populating our recipe model, which is generable. And over here we can specify that what your task is to create a recipe. Now over here I can pass in an array also, kind of like this. This means that it is going to create an array of recipes, but let's just try to keep it simple. So now you can see that I am telling the foundation model that, hey, give me a recipe for pizza, and when you do generate the recipe, make sure to use this recipe model that I've created to populate that recipe that you created into that model. So let's go ahead and see what happens. And again, it's going to take a little bit of time. Let me just go ahead and make sure that we are running this. So we're just going to wait for it for probably a couple of seconds. And hopefully when it generates, then we'll be able to see that how cool it is, that how the foundation models is populating the recipe into your recipe model. And there we go. Look at that. This is the recipe, right? See that? It's a recipe model. This is the same model that we have. Well, it is the same model because we are saying that you got to map it to recipe.self. And that's also have a description. And if I go ahead and check out the content over here, you can see it's a recipe, which is insane, which is really cool, right? I mean, this is really cool because now, once it has created the recipe, I can go ahead and I can populate it on the screen. I can do anything I want. This is amazing. Well, what about if the recipe also has ingredients, right? Now, there are multiple ways that you can do that. I can create a string array, but let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and say recipe will have an ingredient. Now, ingredient is also, we're trying to generate it from the model. So we're going to say that this is also generable. And what will be the name of the ingredient? Well, let's just go ahead and type it in. Name of the ingredient. All right. And we can also say quantity. Now, quantity, ingredient can be sometimes it's just a pinch of salt, and sometimes it's like, half a liter of milk. I'm just going to leave it as string, but this is going to be a great case for an enum. So we can actually create an enum for this. All right. And probably I will have to go to ChatGPT and find that. Let's go ahead and see if I can create a new window and go to ChatGPT. There we go. And create an enum for, let's say, food measurement or recipe measurement. Okay, let's see what it generates. This is a great way that you can actually use, ChatGPT so that it can create all of these things. Okay, so this is what it created, recipe measurement unit, right? And it has a lot of different information over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Now this is too many, so I might have to reduce some of them. So I'm just going to copy right there. And I don't really need the display name property, so I'm just going to delete that. Also, recipe measurement, I don't think I need all of them. So let's just randomly delete some of these. I know, you might need a lot of those things, but just for the sake of convenience, we're just going to remove that. Also, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the quantity, we're using the recipe measurement over here. Now the recipe measurement is also going to be generable because the model will be generating whether it is 1 tablespoon, whether it is a cup or liter or gram or ounce or pound. So all of that stuff will be generated by the model. Now we can leave it like this, or if you want, you can add some guides to help it out. So I can actually add a guide to the quantity, and I can say, quantity of, and sometimes it just kind of comes up of the ingredient. Yeah, that sounds about right. So now we have recipe with name, description. Let's go ahead and add ingredients. Ingredients. And this will be an array of ingredients. We can again add a guide. And we can say something over here. Let's see if it actually helps us out. Sometimes it does, like ingredients for the Well, it doesn't really come up now, but there we go. Ingredients for the recipe. So now everything looks good. Let's go ahead and run the application again and pay close attention to the output that is generated, because what we are expecting it is a recipe. Let's go ahead and check it out. There we go. See that? We have the recipe. That's good right there. We got the name for the recipe. We got the description of the recipe. And then we got the ingredients. And look at the type of the ingredient. Hello foundation.ingredient. Okay, so it's ingredient type. Name is all-purpose flour. Quantity, look at the quantity over here. Quantity is a cup, or a quantity is a, teaspoon, milliliter, tablespoon. I mean, this is awesome, because what the foundation model has done is it has converted our response into into various models over here, because we have, the recipe, we have the name of the recipe, we have the description of the recipe, we have the ingredients, and it has populated everything correctly. Now, if you want to go one step even further, you can. I can go ahead and over here say steps. And I can create a guide over here. Steps to make the recipe. And that's it. Let's go ahead and see that if it can generate the steps also. I mean, that would be the complete picture then. The recipe name, description, the ingredient has a name, the quantity using the recipe measurement, and finally the steps, because you need the steps to make the recipe, right? So that's a really cool thing that we can do also. So let's see what it comes up with. Now, as you write more and more, or as you allow the model to generate more and more and populate these properties, it is going to take a little bit more time, as you can see. All right, let's see if we have the recipe step somewhere. And okay, there we go. You see that steps at the very end? It's just an array of strings, right? So it's going to be array of strings right there. This is where it is starting right there. Step number 1, prepare the dough. In a large bowl, combine warm water, yeast, and a teaspoon of sugar. So you can actually see that all of these steps, and I think there are like 7 steps, with the last one is remove from oven, let it cool, slice and enjoy. All right. So this is the guided generation in foundation models. And this is, as I mentioned, this is the most important thing, the most powerful thing, which is about foundation models, is that you're not really processing JSON, return JSON, or a string. You are actually getting pre-filled objects, these objects that you can now go and display on your SwiftUI application or your any kind of application that you want. All right, like UIKit, macOS, SwiftUI, and so on. So this makes it extremely, extremely powerful. All right. So hopefully you have enjoyed this. Once again, if you have enjoyed this, you want to check out my course, simply go to azamsharp.school, and there it is. This is the course. This is the Getting Started with Foundation Models. And if you open it up in a new link, you can see that you can get this course. Either you can become a subscriber, or you can just buy this course. And the early bird for the full price ends on June 20th. So make sure that you use that deal. And this course is currently a work in progress, which I've said over here. So, but the new sections are added, updated regularly. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and like, subscribe, share the video.